What's up, internet? My name is Ralph, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about TYT confirming what I said in my previous video from Friday, that in fact the Democratic Party is dying. We are currently listening to their death rattle. Democrats, liberals, and progressives are unaccepting of this fact. In fact, it seems they have discovered my channel and have decided to take a moment out of their day to come and let me know how they feel about my positions, opinions, and the numbers that are now being reported on across the entire media landscape. Let's go ahead and take a look at this.
New data shows that the Democratic Party is in serious trouble. This is according to the data. I am not making this up. This is not my commentary. So don't punish us for being the messengers of this news if you happen to be a Democrat. So millions of Americans are apparently leaving the Democratic Party and choosing to register as Republicans instead, which is actually pretty surprising to me considering all the chaos.
Did you hear that, folks? Democrats are leaving the party to join the Republicans. You know, I said this last Friday, and I got all these weirdos in my comments throwing bitch fits, calling me delusional, and telling me my logic is childish, and all the to be expected ad hominem, unintelligent insults that they could muster. Not a single one of them presented any sort of actual rebuttal to any of my points, which is, of course, par for course when dealing with, fanatical nut jobs. But here you have Miss Kasparian of TYT, one of the most leftist media organizations in America, has been for a decade or more, outright telling you the same thing that I said Friday. The Democratic Party is in trouble, and it's bleeding out like a wounded pig. And it doesn't seem that it'll be too terribly long before they completely collapse. Let's go ahead and see what else Miss Kasparian and old Jank have to say about this current situation.
That's going on right now under the leadership of the Republican Party. But nonetheless, we know this because 30 states track voter registration by political party. So we get this data in real time. And as you can see here, take a look at this chart. From 2020 to 2024, Democrats hemorrhaged voters to Republicans in every single one of the 30 states that track voter registration, pertaining to party affiliation.
Oh my God, this is the exact map that I showed Friday. And I literally had people in my comments who probably didn't watch the video talking about, show me the receipts. The fucking receipts in the New York Times, and now it's actually plastered across every media site in America. You can go ahead and stick your sand in, or head in the sand, leftist. You can go ahead and deny the fucking reality. But I told the truth last Friday. So all your little petty ass comments mean fucking nothing. But that's to be expected. That is why they are dying, because they have nothing. They have no platform. They have no reasonable, legitimate policy positions, and they don't have a whole lot of intellect. I'm simply presenting facts for the most part, giving my opinions on what those facts indicate for the future of our political, ecosystem. But not one salient argument made against any of those points. Just simple, childish, sophomoric insults. Insult this map, buddy. Brothers. You want fucking receipts? Here's the fucking receipts. Your party is dying. The Democrats are in more trouble than they've been in decades, maybe ever. So please come and tell me how I'm wrong and delusional. Come and deny reality in my comment sections a little bit more. I enjoy it.
As you can see, this map spans deep blue states like California, deep red states in the Midwest, and swing states like Arizona. Overall, Democrats.
Blue Democrats down in every fucking state. Red Republicans up in every fucking state. Ooh, let's go.
Democrats lost just over 2 million voters, while Republicans gained just under 2.5 million. So I actually apologize. I mentioned how the voter registration went from Democrat to Republican and how surprising that is given how chaotic Republican leadership has been. But obviously that leadership began in 2025. This tracks voter registration between 2020 to 2024. So with that in mind, I'm actually not surprised at all. In fact, I was warning about this leading up to the 2024 election when it came to issues like crime, for instance, or the migrant crisis. People
What's crazy is she's been trying to warn y'all since before the election. There's even been Republicans telling you what you're doing wrong, giving you real advice. But you people are so fucking dogmatic in your support for the Democratic Party and progressivism and liberalism and all this shit that you can't even take good advice when it's given to you because of who it's given to you by. You people are so fucking delusional that you will actually deny the reported facts of a matter if they don't align with the reality that you so choose. And that in and of itself is one of the biggest problems with, the left, people on the left, is that their support of socialism, entitlement programs, welfare states, they are all utopianistic ideas. But these people aren't mature enough to realize that. I myself, ideologically, I have always tracked towards liberty and ultimately anarchism. But I realize that anarchism is not a system for a society to operate by. It is, in fact, the lack of a system. And the hope that that system would work out peaceably for everyone, that is a utopianistic idea. And I, as much as I would love that to be the case, live in reality, accept reality, and deal with the world and its realities. That is something that leftists seem utterly incapable of doing. They want, as I said before, their cake and to eat it too. They truly believe that they can implement a society where there is no want or need by individuals, and all of reality will tell you that that is not possible. It is simply not the case. And in fact, you can just look at the history of leftist ideologies and very easily discover that those ideologies, the nation states that implemented those ideologies and systems, were in fact were responsible for the murder of more people than anything else in the 19th or the 20th century, rather. Um, we're talking about, I don't know, 150 million dead by their own governments, socialist, communist, leftist, collectivist governments. 20 million dead in the Soviet Union, millions starved to death. 40 to 100 million dead in China, millions murdered, millions starved to death because of idiotic policies implemented by their socialist communistic governments. And it boggles the mind that obviously, the Nazis were absolutely terrible. I mean, it would be hard to think of a worse way to operate in the world, to build, to industrialize murder is horrendous, no doubt. But for too long, we as Americans in our education system and beyond into adulthood, we have focused so much on the atrocities of the Germans in the 1930s and 40s that we have completely let it overshadow the fact that the leftist parties, the other leftist parties, I should say, of World War II, as well as the imperial parties, killed as many or more people. You know, as fascism is the worst thing in the world, while you have people flying hammer and sickle flags when even more people were starved, murdered, kidnapped, imprisoned under that sickle and hammer than were under the fucking swastika. So the way I see it, if you're wearing either, if you're supporting either, if you're flying either, you're a piece of shit. Pretty simple. You're either a fascist piece of shit or you're a communist piece of shit. Either way, your piece of shit ideology killed tens of millions of people in the 20th century. Anyways.
People wanted to pretend like they weren't issues at all, that it was all just kind of made up by the right, but it wasn't made up by the right. And so with that vacuum left by the Democratic Party on these issues, the Republican Party comes in and says, we have solutions for this. Whereas the Democratic Party gaslit people and told people this is all made up. That leads to rage among Democratic voters, and they're looking for someone who's gonna represent them and find solutions to these issues, so they switched on over to the Republican side. That's what happened here.
Yeah, so look, this can all be summarized in one simple way. The American people loathe the elites and the establishment. So whichever party is considered more establishment is going to lose, and lose badly. So for a long time, that was the Republican Party, because they're the party of big business. So everybody knew that the Republicans are going to do tax cuts for the rich and give away stuff to corporations. Not everybody, but a lot of people knew that. So that's why they couldn't win a national election. It was about the Democrats won 7 out of 8 popular votes in a row. In fact, we got to the point by the last election, everybody was stunned that a Republican won the popular vote because we were so used to Democrats always winning the popular vote. Why? Because who wants to vote for a servant of big business and giant corporations that are, oppressing all of us and the donor class, et cetera. But because of Trump, what happened was the Republicans started to sound like they were authentic. Now, I know it's a trick, guys, and I know that Donald Trump's a giant liar and a con man, right? But because he was going off script and because he was saying wild, outrageous things, it gave the air of authenticity and the air of being an actual human as opposed to a robot. And the Democrats' answer to that was, let's be more robotic. Let's do talking points from our consultants, and let's be even more elitist. And let's bring out like Buttigieg and Newsom and all these slick guys in suits and Adam Schiff and use big words and talk down to people and say there is no corruption. The money does not affect the politicians. Everything, just vote for what Democratic leadership tells you. We know what we're doing.
I don't know what Democrats represent.
I just want to point out the way that he explained that just now. Because he explained it like I don't know, somebody trying to explain to an over emotional child something that they don't want to hear. Because he knows that if he just outright tells you that you guys need to start acting like you have some fucking sense, that you guys will cannibalize him, because that's what the left does. They say the evil can't create, it can only imitate and destroy. And that is the case with the left. Cenk here, although I've never been a fan, I do, at least to some degree, pity him, because he is trapped in a situation where if he tells the truth to his viewership, to his base, he knows that they will come for him pitchforks in hand. And that is in itself yet another problem with the Democratic Party. The fact that I guess it actually really boils down to the same thing, that they're simply unwilling to accept reality, and that they will react with all hostility, if not violence, when presented with facts that they do not agree with, do not want to accept. And that's why you've got Cenk here sitting and trying to explain to you people to the left in very even tones. He's not trying to call you out too much. He's very calmly trying to explain to you something, because he's hoping that he can keep your level of excitement below a certain threshold, lest you eat your own.
I don't know what their objectives are. Okay,
The
it's that
leadership of the
simple.
party.
Yes, yes. I'm not talking about the voters. Guys, voters are completely out of this, okay? Because they're normal people trying to make the best out of the crappy options we have. I'm specifically talking about the power players, the people in positions of power. What does the Democratic Party represent? Who are they? What do they want to do for this country? I don't know. I really don't know.
So now here we are in the year 2025. Trump is creating chaos. This would be a perfect moment for Democrats to surge. But we know because of the new polling that the Democrats are not surging. In some polling, they're down to 19%. That's unbelievable, especially at a time where Trump's got military.
And the left is like, oh, Trump has historically low approval numbers. Democrats have historically low approval numbers. 19 fucking percent. Are you serious? That's a joke. That's like third party numbers almost. You're not even going to be competing with the Republicans in 2028 and 2030 like at this point. If the left's numbers keep on dropping like this, they're going to be competing with the libertarians and the Green Party. That's where the left is headed right now. So, keep up your delusions, keep up your childish insults in my comment section, because all it does is demonstrate to anyone who isn't, delusional, that sees those comments. All it's going to do is show them how ignorant and incapable of making salient arguments you people are. Keep on speaking. This is why, I love free speech. I don't want any of you to stop talking. I want you to talk your way into exposure as much as you can, please. I would love it if all of you started writing entire articles so that the reasonable people of America and the world at large can see how irrational, unreasonable, and dogmatic you all are.
In the streets, he's deporting all the wrong people, Alligator, Alcatraz, Epstein files, serving Israel, etc., right? And still the Democrats can't figure it out. Because think about it. If you're a Democratic voter, you should be the angriest. What drives me crazy, guys, is when Democratic voters are like, no, let's support the establishment more. You're going the wrong way. You're ruining your own party, right? So in this time of Trump, what has Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, or Ken Martin at the DNC proposed that you love?
That we support Israel more, I guess. That I don't love that, but I mean that's what we've gotten from them.
But it's a very literal question,
Yeah.
and I'm curious if anyone in the audience could even answer it, right? And I'm not putting it on you guys. I'm just saying, I know for a fact they've proposed nothing. That's why it's difficult to answer. Like if right now, if Trump was in charge and I was in charge of the Democratic Party, I would oppose him in 1,000 different ways. And so like one of the reasons I said, why don't we cut defense, is because I knew they wouldn't cut defense. Then if I was Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, I would say, look at this, they added $150 billion to the Pentagon, the most corrupt institution we have in the government. They can't pass an audit. This is an outrage. This is graft and corruption going towards the defense industry. The defense industry is very unpopular in America. Adding to defense was very unpopular. Even a lot of Republicans didn't want to do it. The independents don't want to do it. But they won't do that. Why won't they do something like all Democratic voters would agree? We should not add to the Pentagon. We should cut from the Pentagon. They can't. So why don't they do the simplest things? Why don't they fight for paid family leave? That's 84%. You could embarrass Trump. Oh, you're not for American.
See now, and this is just more of the contradiction and hypocrisy that I'm talking about. Over here, asking why and saying that Democratic voters and really just voters across party in America would support cutting the Pentagon. But at the same time, the Democratic Party, the left, is fighting tooth and nail for the support of Israel. So they want to cut defense budget funding, but want to continue to hand over hundreds of millions of dollars to Ukraine to fight a war that isn't ours. Make that make sense. Like, do they just, at this point, do they just want us to just insinuate our actual boots on the ground military into that conflict? Because that's what it seems like. If they're gonna take money from the defense budget, but continue to send weapons and gear over to the Ukrainians, well, now you've got now you've got money being pulled out of the budget essentially on both sides. You've got it being reduced on the income, and then you've got an exaggerated outflow due to what you're sending over to Ukraine. They want the military to be shrank, but simultaneously want us to be able to solve other nations' conflicts. These people are so disconnected from reality that they almost never make any fucking sense. Please, somebody explain to me in my comments how that makes sense. We want to take money from the military, but we also want to continue to send military goods, arms, equipment, whatever, over to foreign nations. It really just seems like the Democrats' entire goal is actually the dismantlement of the United States of America at this point. I really cannot see any other actual goal that they have. They want to diffuse, if not eliminate, our culture. They hate everything about it. They hate themselves for being an American, but they won't leave, you know. And the ones that do end up leaving, well, what do you see? You see them posting on the socials about how fucking bad it is wherever they went, and then most of them come back. This Democrats are just children. They are children trapped in a state of arrested development, unwilling to grow up and accept the realities of the world, unwilling to grow up and accept that ideals are not necessarily executable in the real world. They grow up and they don't want to have to work. They want to survive off the government. That, or they want to lord over others with their righteousness. Look at how generous I am, and look how wise I am, and I know what is best for all of you. When in reality, they're completely disconnected from the average person and the life that they are living. It's just absurd. It's just absurd. Just weak children afraid to face the world as it is, and so they live in a fantasy world of their own creation and then react violently when you refuse to placate their illusion. That's the average Democrat for you.
Moms, this is for American moms, right? But they won't do any of that. You know why? Because their donors say, is Lockheed Martin Raytheon? I believe he's got one, maybe two out of the top 5 donors for Hakeem Jeffries are defense contractors, right? So he's not going to do that because he's literally getting bribed, legally bribed by the defense contractors. Why are they not standing up to him on Israel when Israel is now very unpopular here in America, the genocide that they're doing? Number 1 donor to Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries is AIPAC. So it's...
See, and again, I've already stated this. Morality doesn't play into this shit with Israel. There's no moral regime over there to support. Our support of Israel is a geopolitical linchpin in the Middle East. That is the reason for our continued support of it. It has nothing to do with religion or morality or liking the Israelis more. It's that the Israelis we can trust to play ball. And we need a disruptor in the Middle East to prevent the Middle East from ever unifying, even though without Israel, that's pretty unlikely with, the divide between Sunni and Shiite. Nonetheless, it behooves our geopolitical purposes to maintain a, I don't know, just a needle in the craw of the Middle East, if you will, in order to ensure the disruption of any sort of unity, and also to ensure that we have a strong, well-defended military outpost there in the Middle East should we ever need to stage any sort of full-scale action over there. And the leftists, Democrats, they'll likely be like, oh, that's so fucking evil. Well, you supported a man that bombed 7 nations full of Muslims across North Africa and the Middle East. And still you bring that man out, Barack Obama, to try and play the voters into believing that, or rather reminding, the voters that he was essentially their savior. They always called Trump, oh, Trump's your savior, blah 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 blah. Obama was y'all's fucking Jesus Christ. Let's be real. Y'all rode that man D like you never rode anybody's D before. Like, it was wild. Y'all acted like that man was some sort of fucking great humanitarian when he was slaughtering families across what? Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria. I can't even remember all the countries off the top of my head. They called him like what, drone bomber or something like that over in the Middle East. He killed US citizens extrajudiciously without trial, without conviction. But then these same people will sit here and be like, "Oh my God, the position you just gave on Israel is psychotic and evil and blah 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 blah." No, it's the fucking reality of the world, little buddies. The world is full of killers, tyrants. And if you want to continue your comfortable little life that you will do nothing but bitch about while simultaneously refusing to leave and go somewhere else because you know subconsciously that anywhere you go is going to be less comfortable than this place that you live in now. Plain and fucking simple. So go ahead and pitch a fit about me telling you the reality of geopolitics, because you have no moral leg to stand on. The Democratic Party fully supported Obama and his wars across the entirety of North Africa and the Middle East. Hypocrites.
It's the corruption that is causing them to be impotent and just go, Trump bad. We don't know anything. We don't have a policy on Israel. We don't have a policy on the Pentagon. We don't have a policy on anything. That's why the Democratic voters are so upset that they won't fight for you, because their hands are tied by their donors.
What the is the point of taking the donor money to win elections if you're going to like essentially be a useless, empty suit in Congress? Like, what's the point of, like, you get what I'm saying?
I do, and I have an answer to that. So the answer is related to Jim Clyburn. So he's another Democratic leader, and since he's African American, they think that's a shield. Like, Israel says they're a Jewish state, so you're not allowed to criticize them. But nobody's criticizing Jews. We're criticizing a foreign government. In the case of Clyburn, it has nothing to do with this race. You know what he did in South Carolina? In fact, the Republicans were trying to gerrymander a second African American district, a district that was predominantly black in South Carolina. They were trying to gerrymander it out of existence. You know who helped them? Jim Clyburn. Why? Why did he do that? Why did he cost the Democrats and African Americans another seat in the House? Because it made his seat safer. So they're selling you out for their own interests. So Hakeem Jeffries will lose more seats in the House. The Democrats will have a worse reputation.
You hear that? They're selling you out. Your own politicians are selling you out, Democrats. But you people aren't smart enough to realize you're being fucking conned. Why would I take any of your insults seriously? You buying wolf tickets from your own fucking politicians. The fuck? Like I said, I don't think Trump is the greatest person in the world. I voted for Trump to stop the Democrats. But that won't stop, leftists from being like, oh, you're a MAGA shill and this and that and woo woo woo. No, dog. Y'all are the sycophants. I don't give a fuck what happens to Trump after this. I just wanted to put a stop to y'all. And we have. And not only have we, but it would appear as of right now that you haven't just been stopped, but you're currently being buried in the ground.
But because of all the money he takes from AIPAC, he's then able to lift himself up into leadership. And so he's now the leader of the Democrats in the House. So for him, it's worked out great. For Clyburn, great. Pelosi, great. Biden, great, etc. For the rest of us, not so good. So I'm not telling you to vote for Republicans. That's crazy. I'm telling you to challenge your own politicians. Please stop believing the mainstream media that they have your best interests in mind. They don't. That's why you're losing all the independents. We got to bring those independents back. And the only way to do that is to be honest and to fight for them and to not back the corrupt leaders of the Democratic Party. Every time you ring.
All right, guys. So there you have Cenk Uygur making some sense, which is wild. I never in my life thought that he would make any sense, but here he is being reasonable, being even-tempered, and simply trying to give you some really valuable advice. But of course, you're not going to accept it. The left isn't going to accept it because they are zealots, plain and simple. The zealotry and fanaticism that has overtaken the Democrat Party's constituency is, it's akin to mass psychosis, the level to which they're willing to deny reality. And you can make accusations against me, insofar as whether or not I'm a sycophant for Trump or the Republicans. Go ahead and make those accusations, because I have absolutely no problem criticizing Trump or Republicans. Again, I'm not a Republican. My entire modus operandi in voting red in this election was to put a stop to the insane authoritarian left. And they'll sit here and they'll be like, "Oh, the right is authoritarian because of abortion." Well, abortion isn't in the Constitution. It's not a protected right. Gun possession is, though. In fact, it's the only right, the only amendment that expressly says it is not to be infringed. It's expressly not to be fucked with by the government. Yet here I live in a state that restricts assault weapons, high capacity magazines, and earlier this year implemented a firearms registration act that almost nobody in the state complied with. Abortion, on the other hand, though, simply not a federally protected thing. It's up to the states. And it's not federally protected. It was never a part of the Constitution. It is not an amended right. And so Trump and the Republican Party left it up to the states. If you live in a state that doesn't allow you to get an abortion, you can go over to a state that does. Now, me living in Illinois, if I go over and buy an AR-15 in Iowa, the moment I step back into the state, I'm breaking the law, even though that is, in fact, a constitutionally protected right.